So guys, it's that Panagon. I'm here again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at the recent patch notes that the developers have put out, and I am kind of happy to read this as I've been pretty unsatisfied with the current state of things and how they kind of made the current PvP system, it being every week, and just having to do like Island Raid or AR once every week, right? And it's just really exhausting. I feel like they overdid it, and I feel like they just shouldn't have had it like that in the first place. So I am really happy to kind of see them reverting some of the changes, but it does feel like they're doing this thing where you put out an update, and it could be really terrible, right? Let's say they're charging $10 for something, and they're like, oh well, you guys don't like this, all right, we're only going to charge $5 now, and then everybody's like, all right, thank you devs, you guys reduce the cost on it. But it's like, you put it there in the first place, so taking some of it back isn't really like, it's kind of like hard to pat like developers on the back here. Like I feel like one reason they probably had to revert it was I would say one, complaints, but then again, it's like the amount of people who complained about the migration system was insane. So I don't even think it's complaints. Maybe they just had a lot less people participating, and I think that's one reason this whole every single week was a bad thing. Was just there were so many brackets where people weren't participating because they weren't able to like consistently do it, or maybe they just looked at the bracket and they were like, oh yeah, this bracket, we're probably gonna lose. There's no point fighting, and you kind of get that mindset because it's like, oh well, we have a PvP event next month or next week. I mean, why fight now if we can just fight next week? You know what I mean? It's just kind of that mindset that got into people. So I feel like brackets were less interesting. Even like top whale brackets, they haven't visibly looked as interesting, right? Like you haven't had as many like sorry, that's my water bottle. You haven't seen like as many intense bracketing or matchups as much as like it usually is. And one reason of that is because just so many whales aren't able to consistently like land in G1 and consistently fight in G1 and heal in G1, because fighting every single week is really expensive. Fighting every single week on a G1 scale as like a mega whale or even a whale is very expensive. Even just normal player, obviously, but like whales are dumping their money in the game, right, to obviously be able to consistently like fight and stuff. So it is just a lot for them. And I don't know, man. I definitely feel like things were less interesting. Not to mention just the fact of, oh well, we're fighting every single week, right? It just makes like the matchups less interesting on a visible perspective, right? Because if you see Boone and HMB fighting, for example, once a month, sorry, I keep freaking like I bang my elbow. If you see them fight once a month, right, that's like really interesting. You only see this thing once a month, but if you see it happen every single week, it's like, there's no downtime. You literally just saw that same exact matchup or something similar to it just a few days ago, you know what I mean? Or literally like could have been 2 days ago, because obviously there's like very little downtime between the matchmaking and stuff and when one of the brackets ends. But you guys get my point, right? I just feel like there was so much excitement that kind of fizzled out, and it just made a lot of the events really boring. Not to mention, I think I mentioned it, but whales going into smaller brackets, this messed up matchmaking even worse than it normally is, because so many people weren't able to consistently land in G1 and consistently perform in G1 or in G2 or just any bracket that a whale might normally be in, and they end up going into a smaller team because they're like, okay, well, there's no point fighting with my alliance because I can't do it this time, and I'm just going to go crush a smaller bracket. And that's kind of like the mindset a lot of people were in. So and I'm sorry, I like rambled on for like 4 minutes, but basically AR, right, it will run once every 4 weeks. Registration for the next round will start on the 28th. Island Raid will run once every 4 weeks as well. Registration for the next round will start on the 12th. This is pretty interesting. I don't understand why they do this. Like they did it last time as well, but they had it to where when they made the changes to where like it would be like, obviously PvP fights every week, they had AR, and then they had AR a second time, and then they had Island Raid run up right behind it, and they're doing it again this time. Like I don't understand if it's like something about the scheduling they're trying to do, or if it's just because AR maybe gets them more money. I don't really understand how this works, or why they didn't just like instantly go into Island Raid next week. Right? Like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just like confused about something and I'm a little retarded. But yeah, Island Raid will run once every 4 weeks as well. Registration for the next round will start on the 12th. And that makes me happy, right? I think that the 2 week thing in general would have been fine anyways with me. And I do understand why it wouldn't be for some people, work schedules, obviously, not being able to consistently take days off to do, long-term fights. Because, I mean, these fights can sometimes take hours a day, right? You can be like just stretching it out on towers, and that can be very exhausting. But for me, I don't think it's like the biggest issue. I think one of the biggest issues was, like I said, there was literally no downtime. There was obviously no time to farm resources, no time to just take a break at all, right? Like you literally had to go, 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 go nonstop, and it was just really exhausting. So I am very happy, and I'm actually satisfied with it being once every 2 weeks, right? That's just kind of my take there. I mean, some people actually might not like that at all, and that's your opinion, right? Like you can say it in the comments. I actually kind of agree to an extent. Like I can understand where you guys are coming from, but it's not really gonna kill me either if it's once every 2 weeks. Okay. Change 3. Due to the changes in scheduling, large-scale cross-region events, Top Commander weeks will no longer include these events. As a result, the mission Defeat Enemies will be removed from Top Commander. So from this, I'm assuming that Top Commander is going to be on the off week when Island Raid and AR aren't, and I don't really understand exactly why they would do that. And not only just for the PvP aspect, which I get people like, but you got to think of it like this, going into Island Raid or something, right? Like, and having Top Commander wasn't really the worst thing, since, for example, if you wanted to train troops one day, you could get a troop training buff, right? You can't do that with this schedule. So I feel like it was actually more beneficial for Top Commander to overlap with this. And even if they were to remove the defeat enemies part, I still feel like top commander overlapping with Island Raid and AR would have been for the best, since people are trying to pump points. It does help if they can get buffs, and I don't know if this was intentional or if the devs just overlooked this or what that is. Me personally, I don't like the whole defeat enemies thing being removed, but I do know that will be kind of different for some people. I know like some like free-to-play players, for example, might find this to be a good thing. Maybe they're not like the biggest fighters, maybe it's just harder for them to get points, but I do know, like, for example, free-to-play players who do actually hate this being removed, because they would actually really try to like do a lot of 1v1s, or they would do whatever the case to get their kills up, to get points. And in the case of, like, for example, my last top commander, I hope this, like, I think it was like a 30 or 40 million guy in my alliance. I used my alts and I let him injure the troops on them so he could pump himself up to top 15. Now that's not possible, you know what I mean? But on the other side of things, obviously, like a T6 player or something will have an easier time at getting kills. So it is like a double-edged sword type situation. I don't see it being like great. I don't see it being terrible either. But I guess we'll just have to see how that kind of works out. How if top commanders will become more pay to win, or if they're going to be more free-to-play friendly as a result. Either way, that's about it to the changes and stuff. I do want to actually hear your guys' thoughts, if you guys are satisfied with it being once every 2 weeks, or if you just wish that it was once every month, and maybe you could choose between Island Raid and AR. But yeah, you guys have a great day or night, though, and I will see you guys in the next video. And that is about it to the video. Yeah, you guys have a great day or night, though, and that is it. Peace out.